Today we'll be conducting a debate on whether non-smokers should be prioritised over smokers on hospital waiting lists. For many years, smoking has been a hot topic within the wider community. There's been abundance of evidence highlighting the increased health risks associated with smoking. However, in recent years, the publicity and the research around the dangers of passive smoking has increased the general awareness of this issue and has caused much discussion within health organisations, government bodies, and the general public. Smoking tobacco is recognised as one of the largest preventable causes of death and diseases in Australia. Each year, smoking kills an estimated 15,000 Australians, as well as costing Australia $31.5 billion in social and economic costs. As a whole, the Australian government is committed by 2018 to reduce the national daily smoking rate to just 10%. This goal focuses on health status within Australia, but does not necessarily mean it is right, as we live in a democratic country and everyone is entitled to his or her own decisions on whether they smoke or not. Individuals should not be disadvantaged based on the fact that they do choose to smoke. Liam will be in favour of this topic, believing that non-smokers should be prioritised over smokers on hospital waiting lists. He will discuss the evidence supporting health resources being wasted on smokers in conjunction with evidence supporting the increased risk of infection post-surgery for smokers. He will also discuss how non-smokers have an increased life expectancy and do not voluntarily put themselves at risk due to their poor decision making. Michael will be rebutting the topic, supporting the fact that everyone should be treated equally. He will be discussing healthcare fees that everyone pays, the need for smokers to receive treatment as often as possible as they are susceptible to health risks earlier in their life, and that no one should be discriminated against based on their own choices.
Okay, so I believe that non-smokers should be prioritised over smokers on hospital waiting lists. It's obviously an issue that's quite popular in society and the community at the moment, so I think it really needs to be addressed. I think they should be prioritised over smokers simply because they make better decisions in life, and this can therefore increase the population's and nation's overall life expectancy, which can make the nation and the country superior to others. As well as this, the mortality rates and morbidity rates can also decrease. The morbidity rates can decrease due to the non-smokers having to wait for smokers to be seen by doctors, as this is very time consuming, because they may have more wrong with them, like in their lungs or in their chest, like infections from the tobacco smoke. With all of these, it can be seen that the country and the nation can have a well-functioning health system, which can lead to a higher and a better reputation for the country as well as the states as well. And I just really think that it's very time consuming for smokers to be seen by doctors first, and then therefore non-smokers aren't being seen, and then they may have other critical illnesses that are developing over time, and they're just not getting seen because it's just really time consuming and taking too long for the doctors to see the smokers. So yeah, I think it just leads to a better health system, really. And yeah, once again, I mean, all of this comes back to a choice, and this choice can influence on many other aspects, like kind of like a domino effect. So like they choose to smoke, which means they increase the chances of lung cancer, lung infections, chest infections, and really just kind of decreases the health system. Also, yeah, okay, as a kind of reward, I suppose, for people not smoking and making a better decision, I really think they should be seen first and prioritised, because really they're making healthier lifestyle choices and decisions. And I just, yeah, just they should make better decisions in life. Simple as that. They've obviously followed the warnings and you know really try to improve their health, and yeah, just not um, really, decrease it, and then decrease the overall health of uh, of Australia, or different states, and really set a good example as well for our future generations. So um, yeah, that's why I think they should be prioritised.
Having non-smokers being prioritised over smokers on hospital waiting lists is an absolute joke. I can't believe we are even here debating a topic of this magnitude. Where are people's morals? Walking through the Melbourne CBD, every second person has a cigarette in their mouth, whether they are a business person on lunch break, a general pedestrian, or even a homeless person. Every second person looks like they're smoking. The Australian government has already done its bit to help reduce the number of smokers throughout Australia. They have increased the prices on cigarettes and also introduced a world first plain packaging program where they are able to discourage smokers by introducing plain packages with pictures of diseased lungs, people that have been affected by mouth cancer, lung cancer, throat cancer, and also the effects of cigarettes that it has on children if a parent smokes while they're pregnant. But yet, still, approximately 2.6 million Australians are being pushed to the back of the line on hospital waiting lists. That's 2.6 million Australians who smoke. Smokers still pay their healthcare fees and yet are being denied and granted the same access as a non-smoker would be granted. Who gives the non-smoker the right to be prioritised over the smoker? The thought of this action sounds wrong, let alone being placed and developed in our communities would make it even worse and cause a massive debate within governments and social parties. Regardless of their behaviours, each person throughout Australia deserves the right to be seen by a medical staff member when in need of assistance. Australia is a democratic country, yet people are being judged for making their own decisions. They're entitled to make their own decisions on their own behaviours, and yet people aren't. Where is the equity in our healthcare system? Where is the equal opportunity for everyone to achieve and maintain a healthy life? Why are people being segregated and socially excluded from accessing healthcare? We in Australia are very fortunate to have the amount of healthcare we have available. I don't believe that in a well-developed country such as Australia that people should be disallowed or refused access to our healthcare. Our healthcare system is one of the largest around the world, and it's really renowned for being able to help people when they're in need, and yet we're willing to let that go to waste because of a behaviour. Our government ensures that our hospitals are equipped with the latest technology and that our health workers are able to be trained with the latest technology and the latest resources, and yet we're willing to let all that go to waste because of a behaviour. The people that are being left out are going to become socially excluded, and then there's going to be further repercussions on their lives.
Okay, Michael, I understand that that everyone pays health fees and healthcare fees, although you find that a lot of smokers actually don't, or in fact they pay the bare minimum but still get treated the same as those who don't smoke. So, and those who don't smoke still pay an extreme high amount, but they're kind of just paying for the smokers' treatment, so they're just delaying their own medical treatment, and other medical treatment for non-smokers, and just kind of paying for their own, but it's getting used by smokers. So I think smokers should really realise how bad their actions and habits are, and to realise what they're doing to themselves, how wrong it is. So they just really honestly, they just need a reality check and a wake up call, to be honest, mate, to what they're doing. So yeah, I mean, it's just really absurd that non-smokers are paying healthcare fees for smokers to use, which I just find a bit baffling, to be honest. As well as this, I mean, I think smokers are getting health resources wasted on them, and this is increasing the cost to all civilians. So civilians who don't smoke, for example, are paying, once again, just paying for the resources of smokers and aren't using it themselves. as well as this, they're making the population who don't smoke, so the non-smokers, they make them, for example, pay tax for the healthcare system, which is, fair enough, fund the healthcare system, but if it's not getting used for you, I mean, that's pretty absurd. And the tax goes to resources and equipment, but the non-smoker doesn't actually get a chance. The non-smoker doesn't get a chance to use the resource, and therefore it's just paying for that individual who smokes to be treated. So, as well as this, smokers are generally the ones who need to be treated as soon as possible, have surgery, operations, etc. And they're just taking way too much time for others to be treated. So once again, it's time consuming. Because they're more likely to have something wrong with them. They're just getting treated first. Obviously, it's just taking way too much time. So after all, I mean, why should non-smokers have to pay for the operations and surgeries for smokers when there's a high rate of infection and more disease post-surgery for smokers? So it's just wasting time, and non-smokers paying for smokers' surgery is just ridiculous, to be honest. I think it's quite ludicrous and quite embarrassing how we as a nation can allow individuals who choose to destroy their lives and choose to smoke, how we as a nation can allow them to stay on our hospital waiting list and even jump those who don't smoke on the hospital waiting list, and how we can allow people who make poor decisions in life to stay on the waiting list and the same time as someone who doesn't smoke, really. So I can't agree with you, Michael. I'm sorry, I just can't.
Describing one's action, a smoker's action, as a cause to the problem within the whole medical system throughout Australia is absolutely ridiculous. Blaming 2.6 million people for the waiting lists and all the dramas within our hospital is absolutely atrocious. There is other people around Australia who are partaking in worse behaviours than just smoking and are receiving help within our hospitals. There are alcoholics with collapsing livers and poor functioning kidneys who are being rushed to hospitals and being granted help. People who are engaging in gangland warfare and yet are being shot and injured and then being rushed to our hospitals and being put straight through the emergency room. Are you going to not help the people who come through with a bullet wound because of their behaviours with the gangland? That would be even worse discrimination for people who are smoking. Just because of their associations and behaviours, they are not different. They're just like a smoker, an alcoholic, and a person who uses drugs. They all partake in bad behaviours, and so we are willing to push back all these people to the back of our waiting lists in hospitals because of the behaviours they partake in. Why would it be wasting a health resource? Why would it not be using the health resources effectively and using them on every person throughout Australia? I wouldn't say that a non-smoker may not need the resources, but a smoker is damaging their lungs, and yes, they will need the resources more, but to deem it a waste of a resource is shameful. That would be declassifying a human life, and would rather let a human pass away than use a resource on them to save a life because of their behaviour. A doctor's job is to do the best thing in a situation and help the person prolong their life, and that is not killing a person because the resource might be a waste because of the behaviour they partake in. The amount of discrimination that smokers are being hit with is absolutely atrocious. They're being treated as if they were stealing the lung from a non-smoker, then going to smoke a packet a day to damage it. No. They're harming their own body at their own choice. That's up to them. It's not up to the non-smoker to say that they need the help more. If the smoker needs help, then it's in their own hands to seek it and should not be turned away in a country as well developed as Australia is. I'll leave you with one last argument. If a person was diagnosed with lung cancer and never picked up a cigarette, would you still deem it a waste as a resource to help that person? No, it wouldn't be a waste, would it? That session of chemotherapy that they'll go through is not a waste of a resource. So, but if a person came to the hospital, smoked in social events only, and was diagnosed with lung cancer, would that chemotherapy be deemed a waste as well? Or would it be not part of would not be taken into consideration because they smoked, and they would be not granted that access to chemotherapy. Chemotherapy. I know racism is a big part in our society, but the remarkable resemblance that the discrimination that is showing with the smokers and how they are not being prioritised or being accepted on hospital waiting lists is absolutely a joke. This needs to be taken out of our society before it gets worse and people's lives start getting damaged and lost. Lives being lost around Australia as well. Thank you for listening.
In conclusion, it is evident that the smoking debate within Australia is still very much up in the air. Evidence has been presented emphasising that non-smokers are making better choices when it comes to their health and should therefore be prioritised over smokers. Evidence also suggests that we are just wasting health resources on smokers when we shouldn't have to. Evidence has also fairly been presented that it doesn't matter if you're a smoker or a non-smoker. Australia is a developed country, so everyone should be treated equally when it comes to their health. Evidence also suggests that smokers should not be discriminated against due to their behaviour of smoking and is degrading to the human person due to their issues. The minute we make a decision on to prioritise non-smokers over smokers, we could be creating more health issues and increasing mortality rates. That's a huge issue within itself.